welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, I have a guest back to see me today. Her name is Fran Spayne. And I was saying to Fran, I don't even know how many years it's been, but it's been a lot. And you look the same, you're still beautiful, and you got over the bridge.
I got over the bridge, I did.
Welcome to Awaken the Dream.
Oh, my pleasure.
And to helping us with the law of attraction. And when I knew you, and I really can go back at least 20 years, I mean, we were Course in Miracles folks.
Right.
We did 20 Women of God.
Right, you did a lot.
I need to have you help my friends who haven't seen you in a while with where you came from, what planet, and how the Course came into your life, and actually how you just opened yourself up, because obviously life gave you a journey so that you could be receptive to your spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I actually was born into a family who was extremely religious, and then when I was a single mom, well, actually when I found myself getting divorced, my family and the church really didn't accept me.
Oh.
And it was actually at the time pretty painful, because it's not what they promoted themselves to be, is to be, you know, whatever. But it turned out to be a great gift for me, because I decided I had enough of the church, and then I turned my back on God. It was like, because I just was so hurt, and so couldn't believe that this would happen, like that I would be actually an outcast in my own family.
Dismissed.
And dismissed from the church.
Yeah. Which you loved. Is that true, or was it sentimental, or was it family, or?
I think it was more tradition, more like everything that every week I went to Mass, took my kids to Mass. I was raised that way, so I didn't think of it any other way.
Yeah.
But I also realized now that when I did was I left my belief in God. I just was like, well, that's it, it's over. And then one day someone gave me a birthday gift. They gave me a gift certificate to a workshop. It was called A Course in Miracles. Oh. And when I got there, I had no idea what they're talking about. I had no idea, like, what the terminology meant. I was totally lost.
Holy Spirit.
10 weeks. Vicki Poppy taught the class, actually.
She did?
She taught the class. She was my first teacher. And they had this big blue book, which I was like, I'm dyslexic. I have difficulty reading, so I'm not reading that thing. I'm not buying that thing.
Was it in 3 volumes at that point?
It was one book.
One book.
One book.
Oh, you're a late bloomer.
It was the original book.
I had the 3 in this 1970. I was struggling with 3 big ones.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, they had
dates us.
Little tissue paper pages, and I had that. So, so then exactly 1 year later, I found myself back in that class. I don't know how I got that. I don't remember. But you could take the same class again for like a $5 like per night. Just drop in and I remember feeling there was a lot of things that have shifted me within that year. And I knew it was because of that workshop. I knew it was because of Course in Miracles. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but I remember like something stirred in me. There was
a rightness about you being there, or?
It was a rightness about my being there, but something was happening.
Yeah.
A shift was happening. I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
And that's when I began my journey back to God, into Jesus, in a way that I never had before, because now I had a clean slate.
Yeah.
And it was on my own terms, and what I felt comfortable with. Now I'm dyslexic, and I have a really difficult time reading, even though I have 2 college degrees. The Holy Spirit helped me with all of it. And what I do when I get a book is I sleep with it.
Ah.
So I took the book, that big blue book, actually I bought about 4 or 5
Your
of them.
new best friend.
I bought about 4 or 5 of them in the beginning, and I kept giving them away because I knew I wouldn't read them, but I wanted the information so bad that was in it, because I wanted what everybody else was having. So I took it to bed and I slept with it, night after night after night, and I asked Jesus to help me. I said, please help me, please teach me what it was like for you to walk this earth.
Oh.
Please, I want to be in those sandals. I want to know what it was like to love and to forgive, and to really be in that place that you were when you were here.
Yeah.
And he did. And I had the most amazing life experiences because of it. And I actually taught A Course in Miracles for many, many years without reading that book. And I did
Interesting.
And I did it through a way of allowing Jesus to work through me. I don't remember Interface? Remember Interface used to be like a mega in Boston. It was a big institute, and they called me one day and they asked me if I would teach A Course in Miracles, because I'm a psychotherapist, and I combine spirituality and psychotherapy based on the principles of A Course in Miracles. And they called me one day and they asked me if I would teach A Course in Miracles there, and I said, absolutely, like, without hesitation. Yeah. But I had still never read the book.
I love it, because I've done that too.
Have you?
I have. You're not alone. Yeah.
No, you're not alone. And I really trusted the Holy Spirit was going to work through me. And so I tried to prepare for the class, but it just didn't work out. And so one day I took the book out and I said, well, like, the class is in a couple of weeks or a week or something, and I really should, prepare. So
I should read this whole thing.
I should do something. So I fanned the book and I let it fall open, and it just came to this caption that I didn't even know was in there. You need do nothing.
Oh, don't you love it?
And I get this sense of peace. So I said, okay, I'll do nothing, like, to prepare. And I walked in the first night, and there were 25 people in the room.
It's a big class.
It was a huge class.
Oh my goodness.
And I was scared to death, and I didn't want to tell them I was scared. I didn't want to tell them I was, like, felt unprepared. But I knew that I just kept needing to trust, just trust. I kept saying to myself, I just got to keep trusting, just keep trusting. So I sat in the chair and I did a meditation with the group, and I said to myself and with my mind, we're one. We're all one. And I could see the energy flowing through all of us. We're all one. We've come here for one divine purpose. I don't know what that is, but it will be revealed to all of us. And I had my book, and I just kept holding my book, and we meditated, and it helped me a little bit. I could feel like this deep sense of peace within me, but the perspiration was running down. It was like, I was like, so again, so after the meditation, like 25 faces were looking at me, and I had not one word prepared. I didn't know what to say.
Oh, I love this story.
Nothing was coming to my mind. So I fanned the book again. I said, well, I'll just fan it and see where it comes open to, and then maybe that will be a good place to launch the topic, right? The same page opened up.
Oh my goodness. Same
page, like, you know how big that book is? And yes, what's the chances? Because I hadn't opened it to that page before, so it wasn't like, it was a well-used, you need to do nothing. Well, the guy next to me on the left saw that, and he said, oh, it was his opportunity to ask a question, or to whatever. I don't really remember what, but I remember him telling me that later. And we were off for 2 hours. It was divine. It was absolutely divine.
And you drew on what you already knew.
I already knew, because
it was a mirror.
I had been to many workshops, listened to many CDs and tapes, and just because I hadn't read the book. But the most important thing was sleeping with that book and letting Jesus talk. Yeah. Now Jesus was talking through me, and I was able to convey these powerful life stories. So when I can say, I've had this life experience with Jesus, I had this powerful experience about forgiveness through my desire.
Yeah. Was there a particular traumatic forgiveness experience that, and you don't have to tell me exactly what it was, but there was a shift for you about something in your life that needed to be forgiven, put in the light, dismissed?
Yeah. Actually, there's a person, it's a pretty powerful figure that was really being very, very abusive to me.
Okay. Okay.
And so I just prayed about it, and it really wasn't about the abuser. It was about my getting to the place where I wanted to be, and learning how Jesus felt when he forgave.
Got it.
And so one night, I went to bed and I was praying and I was meditating, and it was 11 o'clock. I remember this, it was 11 o'clock. And Jesus said, wash his feet. So this man was sitting in front of me, and in this, in your mind's eye, whatever.
Yeah.
And I picked up his foot and I began to wash his feet, and I wept for 3 hours, because I got to this deepest place. It had nothing to do with the other man. It had nothing to do with anybody outside of me. It was getting to that place where I could forgive on the deepest, deepest level, and experience what Jesus experienced, all because I asked.
Yeah.
I had enough passion to learn, and to go to bed with that book every night and say, teach me.
Yeah.
Just teach me.
I want to know what you knew.
I want to live, and I want to be able to live in those sandals and know what it was like to experience life through your eyes and your heart and your mind and your intention, and he did. So a lot of my Course in Miracles workshops were based on stories like that.
Yeah.
Real life examples, because I think when you read
that's perfect.
I think when you read a book, especially like A Course in Miracles, it can be difficult to understand. And then the application is even more difficult, I think. So how do I get from what's in this book to applying it to my life?
Yeah.
So that was the gift that I was given. It was to be able to help people with real life examples on how to apply it.
Yeah. So people would bring you a story and say, look, I've got this situation and I'm struggling with it and I feel this anger or whatever, and you could all together in oneness try and rework the story, shift the story.
Or from my own personal life example, say, this is how it happened for me.
Yeah.
This is how Jesus taught me how to overcome that particular situation or get to this place of love or forgiveness.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk about your dyslexia and not being able to, because you know we get a little stuck in, oh my gosh, there it is, and I've got to make sure and it's so wonderful that that doesn't have to happen. I mean, that whatever you are, you were perfect for the job.
For a long time it was so painful for me, and so I still have that little tape running around that I'm stupid, and you know, my grandkids can read better than I can, and you know, it's one of those things. It just is. But I have to say, it turned out to be my greatest gift because it helped me to be able to read on a different level.
Yeah, this is a silly question maybe, but dyslexia is it hard to just go with the flow of the sentence, or I mean, what happens? Or you can't? Or
I can. Like, well, I mean, things get scrambled. Like I call it dyslexia, but my brain actually processes information differently. So I actually start on the right and move to the left, and then it moves back and forth. So when I even look at one word, the letters get all scrambled up, and I make a different word out of it.
How interesting.
So a sentence
that helps me.
A sentence will be the same way. Like I'll read a sentence, but sometimes like the words will get like one word's over here will be over here now. It's just. Yeah, it's with my.
How interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. Makes life interesting.
Did you know that as a kid, though? Could they help you with that? Did you? No.
No, when my kids were really little, I couldn't read them golden books. Oh. I graduated from high school not knowing how to read. They just pushed me through.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was so painful.
Yeah,
and I thought I was stupid all the time, but I was smart enough to be able to make it through school.
Yeah.
So I had the intelligence, but I didn't know that. I had nobody to really help me with that.
So there's a challenge that you took on.
I did.
It gave you all the strength.
It gave me the strength, and it gave me the ability to really read my vibration.
Yeah.
So that brings me to law of attraction, because...
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, law of attraction is what you put your intention out. Like if you really have a strong intention for something. I had a strong intention to learn about Jesus and how he lived here. That was my intent. And I got that back exactly that way.
That's what you wanted.
I did. I wanted to learn about love on the level that he experienced, and I wanted to learn about forgiveness on the level that he experienced. Yeah. That's law of attraction.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's setting your intention, putting that vibration out there, and having it come back, like really committed to it.
Yeah. Now, when you say law of attraction, do you have something for our friends who are watching this program? When you put out the intention, maybe you can help us with the variety of ways one does that. Is it imagination? Do you envision? Do you write it down? I mean, do you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Can you help us with that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to back up a little bit and say, talk a little bit about vibration.
Yeah.
Because vibration is when, you know, when you walk into a room and something just doesn't feel right.
Oh, yes.
Or you walk into a room and someone's angry, they don't even have to say a word to you, can feel it.
Yeah.
Or there's some kind of a sticky situation and something's not right and you can feel it. It's because somebody is putting out vibrations.
Okay.
They're through their words, or their it can be silence, it can be through their thoughts or their intention to do harm.
You pick it, feel sticky.
Yeah. Or you can be around somebody who's really in heaven.
Yeah.
Like really like
peaceful,
and you can feel that too, and you just love being in their presence. So it's a vibration that they're putting out.
Yeah.
Like attracts like. So whatever you're putting out, you get back.
Yeah.
So if you have an intention, even just in your mind, to learn something like I did, you get that back. So you can write it down. Sometimes it's helpful for people to write things down, or to talk about it with other people, or to share, or just put it in a journal. And but getting really clear about what's important to you
clear
is really, really helpful.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
Yeah. And it's interesting you should say that. That can be a challenge for folks who may be confused about how to be clear, or maybe don't know what they want, or where they want to go. I mean, there are. So in other words, there's a practice with the law of attraction, of how do you make that happen.
Right. I mean, we're always attracting.
We're always attracting. Always.
So if you don't like what's happening in your life, know that you're doing something to attract it. That's you're creating. We create our own reality.
Yeah, that's interesting. You should say that. What if you went to a job and you really didn't want to go, and your soul just felt black, and you were there and miserable? I mean, it would be you. It would be all about you.
It would be.
Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe this isn't where I belong. I mean, I'm listening. I'm feeling my chemistry, my vibration.
Right. Instead of, and the people do this all the time. They get into relationships or work situations, and they don't listen to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't feel right. I really shouldn't be here. And they say, well, I need the money, so I'm going to do it anyway. Or I want to be in a relationship, and maybe he'll turn around and he'll like me, or she'll like me, and I'm just going to keep going with it, and maybe we can make him change. Or you know, it's like instead of like listening to that voice inside and saying,
that the feeling, the voice, the vibration, the message,
and so if we
wrong road.
if we accept something that's not right for us, the universe will keep giving us more of that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's very nice. So there you are, Course in Miracles teacher.
Right.
Do you, what is it, 6-week course that you did, and it went well, and everybody stayed with you and worked with you? And did you do any reading in the class? Did they do any reading? Did you look at a lesson?
You know, I just trusted every night it would be different.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we did all of the above, and sometimes we just did, you know, it was a work in progress, helping people to work through stuff. It was always different. And I taught it for years, so it evolved through over the years. And
And if someone asked you in class, gee, what's my assignment? I mean, should I read 5 lessons, or do you take one at a time? Or, I mean, you know, there were those sort of...
Yeah, I wasn't that kind of a teacher.
No, well, that's good. I like that.
No, it was always in the moment. Like where... So, so my inability to be able to read the written word was helpful, because when I would get into a classroom like that, or like when I do my counseling or coaching now, when I'm sitting in with someone, I can read the vibration. Yeah. So when someone says to me that they want something in their life, or something's not working for them, I can usually pinpoint a time in their life just by reading their vibration. Of when they created a limiting belief.
Interesting.
Whether it's, I can do that back to birth, conception, in utero. I can read that vibration. So it's been such a gift for me, because I have fine-tuned it.
Yes, your dyslexia is a wonderful gift to you. Also, I want to take this quick break to say we have your lower thirds that say your website is miraclework.org.
Correct.
And it's a singular work.
Singular.
Miraclework.org. And if folks who are watching this program want to be in touch with you, they can reach you that way. Is that correct?
Absolutely. They can check out my website. I teach a course. I teach a law of attraction workshop. It's called Mind-Body Connection: The Power of the Mind and Law of Attraction. Okay. It's to help people understand how powerful their minds really are. Yeah. If we knew how powerful we were, enough to manifest anything, that's what Jesus said, and all the spiritual leaders before us said. Yeah. What I can do, you can do, and more. But we have chosen not to believe that. Yeah. My mission is to help everybody know how powerful their minds are. Yeah. Because if you knew that you were creating this life, and that you're powerful enough to create anything that you wanted, everything.
So you really got that.
If you really got that, then there wouldn't be jealousy.
Yes, that's so true.
There wouldn't be fighting. There wouldn't be greed. How much greed do we have in this country and the world? We wouldn't be greed, because we would know that we had the power. We wouldn't want to have what somebody else has. Yeah. Yeah. There wouldn't be wars. There wouldn't be fighting. And ultimately, there'd be world peace. There'd be peace. Yeah. So my goal is to I teach these workshops to help promote peace. And all the money that I make from these workshops, I donate to peace organizations, because I believe so much that we have that power. Yeah. And I want everybody to know that. Yeah.
Now, you're telling our friends that you do this workshop, but you're on Cape Cod right now. Where do they find you?
So they go to my website.
But it's in the Boston area where you're teaching?
I'll go anywhere.
No, okay.
I'll go anywhere.
Oh.
I've taught it all over.
So if a group of folks wanted to be in touch and say, hey, would you come and do this with us?
I will do that.
That you come over the bridge?
I would do that.
I'm glad to hear that.
I will do that. I teach it all over New England. Again, I donate all the money to peace organizations. My goal is to help promote peace. And
That's wonderful.
Really believe this. I'm going to tell you another story about manifesting. So when I set my intention to help promote world peace, that this was my passion, I'm going to do this, like this is really what's in my heart. And I've been teaching the mind-body connection, the power of the mind, for like 25 years, before it was even like they call it the secret now and you know, whatever, law of attraction. But it's really something that's been around for thousands of years. It's not something new. So I had this experience where it just came to me so strong. It was like this deep, deep passion. I was invited 2 days later to an event at the Rockingham Mall in Salem, New Hampshire. Okay. J. Jill was having an event, and they asked vendors to come in, and they asked me as a life coach to come in and, you know, do whatever. And when I walked in the Rockingham Mall, you know the big marquees where there's a picture on one side, an advertisement, and there's the directory on the other?
Yes, I do.
The Dalai Lama was facing me. The Dalai Lama, just this picture from his bus stop, and the caption underneath said, doesn't just wish for peace, he works for peace. Hope, pass it on. My intention was so strong that manifested.
Yep. You pulled that right up.
Yeah, and so I have so many stories like that. Since, like, whatever is in your heart, you get back. You just keep getting it back.
In our last 5 minutes, let's go to whatever is in your heart.
Right.
Don't be afraid to go to that heart and to claim really what you want.
Right.
Claim it.
Right. So what is it you want to claim?
Everything. Peace.
There you go.
Prosperity. Happiness.
So as you hold that with excitement every day, that you hold that excitement for peace, opportunities will start showing up in your life that will present you
with those chances to contribute.
Absolutely.
We need to share.
Yeah.
We need to extend our hearts.
Really. Yep. Yeah.
So what a wonderful way to start the day.
There you go. It's fabulous.
Other than the coffee.
Yeah.
I bet it is. And do you find that, one thing leads to another? If you keep up that intention, that surprises come along, and yet they're not surprises. There must be a part of you that says, oh, okay, I asked for it.
Oh, no, I'm not surprised anymore.
There it is.
I get excited.
Yeah.
I get excited with the constant validation. It works, it works, it works. And then I have all these stories that when people show up at my workshops or I see you, I can tell you, guess what? I saw this picture of the Dalai Lama right after I said, no, I went back 2 weeks later and that was gone. Like, did it show up at that moment? Like, what's the Dalai Lama doing at the mall? Like, I don't, I don't know how long it was there, or, but it was so exciting.
Instead of saying to yourself, what are the chances? It's like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I've been doing counseling and coaching for a really long time, but I'm not a marketing person. I'm just like, that's just not my forte. So when you have a business,
I'm with you.
You need to be able to market. You need to be able to do all the things that support a business. Right after I set that intention to create world peace, I started getting emails from all over the world.
Did you?
And I don't know how that happened, but I just know that that's how powerful it is. The first email I got was from a woman in Estonia. Now, at first I was like, Estonia? Where the heck is Estonia?
Where is that?
It's, I do know now. I do know now. Yeah, it's like
it's not on the East Coast.
No, it's not on the East Coast. And then in her subject line, it was a call for help. She wanted me to coach her. I got an email from somebody in Vancouver. This was all like within a couple of days. So now I've got clients from all over the world and all over the country asking me to coach them in spirituality and life experience. Yeah,
how exciting.
Because I set my intention globally. It went globally, my energy.
Now the joining, explain in our last couple of minutes. The joining, here's the person who wants help with this. You join with this person. Can you explain that magic, which I know you can, or it just is. You're joining vibrations. You're coming together in oneness for creation.
Well, Jesus said, when two or more joined in his name. So it's true.
That's
it's
where I was going.
Yeah, so when it's such a powerful force, when two or more people are thinking the same thing. So when we think there's a bad economy, guess what we get?
Yeah.
When we think there's peace in the world and peace is possible, guess what we get?
Yeah.
So you'll never hear a word of the bad economy coming out of my mouth, because I don't want to join with those people who are fearing the bad economy and creating more of that negative environment.
Yeah.
I want, and people, you can say it's airy-fairy or, you know.
Well, look at the world. I mean, we have a little battle in our hands when we get, you know, inundated with constant fear stories.
Right.
I mean, maybe the TV needs to be off more. Maybe.
Well, the TV's not on in my house.
Oh, good.
No, it's not. Like I do.
That's a good advice for our friends.
Because I don't want that negative image in my mind.
No.
On 9/11, I did not watch TV all day.
Yeah.
I held the space for peace. Like in my mind, nothing happened.
Yeah.
In my mind, nothing happened that day. And I don't mean to disrespect anybody that had an experience, but it was a day of peace for me.
Yeah.
Which I'll talk about another time with you in great length, because I think it's a story.
Yes, I want to go back to that.
It's a story worth telling.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Fran, you're very inspiring, and
thank you.
I'm just thrilled with how Spirit is using you.
Me too. I'm
and
excited.
you asked for it.
I did.
And
it's
that's
so fun.
In our it's fun.
It's fun.
It should be
make
fun.
It fun. Make life fun.
Life can be fun.
It can be fun. Doesn't mean it doesn't have its moments where you bump into something that you need to work through.
Yeah.
But it can be fun.
Yeah.
It's all the way you look at it and experience it and think about it. And
it's so good to see you in our
nice
last minute. And come back next week, because we have another show.
You.
We've got to go to that story.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Thank you, my friends, for joining us on Awaken the Dream. We will talk to you next week. Ruth, you cracked me up coming in, because I couldn't tell you to go sit down.